Consideration action on paying all open invoices for Webb, Tanner, Powell, Mertz, and Wilson LLP. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we pay all outstanding invoices to Tanner Wilson for our city attorney.
There is a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Litz. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Emmanuel. Further discussion?
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Paul, I have some questions I'd like to ask you, but you know, it may just go quicker if you just can you give us a summary of your billing for those? I believe it's a 6-month period. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. There are 6 months of invoices. The first of those would have been October 22nd, 2012 time entries. Over that period of time, Mayor Pro Tem Witz, the total amount of invoices is $94,305.76. A substantial portion of that is $8,172.90 that we've actually advanced on behalf of the city to subcontractors, which would be appraisers for your LCI projects. It would be other specific items that we actually fronted money for you guys. During that same period of time, we do what are called discounts, which you can see throughout the 6 months. They range probably from about $3,500 to somewhere in the $400 range on a monthly basis, depending on work where we will use people in our office that duplicates time. But it's stuff that we actually write off. We want the city to know we do that work, but we also give it to you because it's part of convenience for us and part of that process. We're really proud of the work that we've done, and frankly, a lot of it has to do with the quality of your staff. They are conscientious about how they respond to legal issues, and frankly, we don't have many problems that we can't deal with very effectively. Just like tonight, a good example is we were asked to give opinions regarding the American Disabilities Act, and when we followed back through it, your staff had put the notices just in the right place and done just the right things. So we credit them with a lot of the success of what happens. We had a real success last week in court in the Anderson matter, a matter that's been of some controversy before the council, and we'd like to report that that issue has been resolved, with Mr. Anderson issuing a full apology for his comments concerning the council members that were involved in that matter. It was a rather costly event in terms of the number of motions. There were motions to recuse your Superior Court judges, in which each case they recused all of the Gwinnett County Superior Court judges from hearing the case. We had a Judge Struble, who's from North Georgia, who has a very courageous judge, stepped up. And when you put things like that in the light of day, they just don't seem to hold much water. And it was obvious from the hearing that he was a political operative. He had done this in a number of campaigns throughout the state. He appeared to be hired to have done that. He fully apologized, said that his accusations did not account for an ethics violation. He readily acknowledged that it was disruptive to the city and that citizens of Snellville just simply didn't want him around. And those were very good. It was a good response. It was a good result. It was off budget for us. It was about $9,000 in handling that matter separate, $9,900. It's worth every penny to both you and every other city in this state that your ethics provisions don't get caught up in political activity. And so that part is wonderful, and it's worth every dime. We've had cases with your staff regarding your public works. The one that comes to mind is Daz Construction. It was a suit for over $60,000. We resolved it for a $2,000 marshaling charge, and the company's back to work. The contract with the Snellville Days is something that we looked at over that time. We review your audit letters and your budgetary matters. You know, and your people, your citizens know that we're here for every meeting. Those are all included in those invoices that we're talking about. We enjoy being here. We like the work. We like what you do. Another unexpected event was the Swinney matter. That case was resolved. The cost of it was about $4,520 as far as we're concerned. That was elevated above what it should have been because it was a matter that should have been handled by insurance counsel and was. But the part that was so costly to us is the ethics issues that were involved and resolving those from a legal ethics standpoint, which we believe was unnecessary, but it still had a cost. That's in this invoice. We had the amending of the city charter to clarify issues with regard to division between the council. We had a number of really technical events with regard to the racetrack rezoning and some of your land use and water setback rules that we think were resolved successfully and conscientiously as far as the city's interests are concerned. Unexpectedly, where we went through this very difficult time of the mayor suing the other council members, the cost of that was $277 inside of this billing cycle. Most of that was not done by me. I became a party to that, incurred my own legal fees in that process, which are not in your bill. I paid for those myself. The new ordinances are group homes, which we think we've given a great start to that to resolve a lot of the issues that you have in front of you. We are working on one for Councilman Sabah on Flag Day. We have a solid waste ordinance that more consistently deals with the way you want to do it. We actually helped assist in drafting and amending the art commission and the art ordinances for the city, which we're very proud of, and the sign ordinance, which we think gives us a leg up. All of that's included in this. One of the things that most people don't see happening is nuisance actions, which are a target of ours. It's about 12 houses where the people who live next door to them know what we're talking about. They're falling down, they're grown up, their grass needs cutting, they have dangerous conditions with regard to those. That process is full speed now. We've resolved 4 of those completely. We're in the process of really alleviating the group home or the home issue inside of Governor's Walk subdivision, and that is a big part of we're caught up in that same process. We're caught up in the myriad tax issues where citizens are being challenged with false tax sales, we believe. Those have gotten caught up in some of the Governor's Walk properties, and we hope we can alleviate the city of Snellville from having issues with those, which we've discussed with council. Another point of pride is our LCI acquisitions. Our total cost of that is $13,580. That's off budget. We should be able to recoup 80% of that from the state. That's included in these numbers. Our success there really staff the quality of your independent contractors. In the certified case, we expect it to be refunding more than $100,000, where the claim was over $500,000 to you. The Williams case has been resolved successfully with them, and again, a refunding of almost $90,000 to the city. TISMA appears to be, we're still fighting over that. It won't be any more than what we paid into the registry of the court, and we expect it to be substantially less than that. And most importantly, we resolved both certified case. We're well underway to resolve that thanks to the ability to swap some property. But more importantly, the corporate citizens who came here were in some ways had their feelings hurt by the condemnation, and we think we can restore that relationship to the city, as well as the Rollins family who are on that same group. We closed with them and very successfully resolved their case. We just finished up a bond issue that saved the city approximately present value $400,000. In reality, it's probably about $1.4 million over time. We did that on an hourly rate as compared to a percentage, which is the percentage of that would be about 1%. Would have been $31,000 for just that issue. Our fees are going to be less than 10. They're included in the billing. We ask that the budgeted amount be returned to the city, and I presume it's been accomplished already. So that's helped pay for some of the fees in this situation. We hope to finish up very quickly and are making progress with the Skyland acquisition of right-of-way for the crosswalks at the high school. USA Pools had a claim. Your pool didn't work right last year. We had to litigate with them to keep them from making claims against the city. And in the process, we resolved it so we pre-qualify your pool contractors. What you should see as a result of our work this year will be a pool that stays open the days it's supposed to stay open and continues through the time period that you're supposed to. There are a number of other issues pending. Everybody knows about Summit Chase and those issues, which we hope we can solve as easily as we've solved all the others that have been on our plate. We're again grateful for the work. One of the things that Mr. Anderson reported when he was here was we had about 3 months of $66,000 of attorney's fees. And one of the nice things about being in the audience is I have the chance to talk to people, and I did talk to Mr. Anderson ahead of time. And he says, "Is that really your bill?" And I said, "No, Mr. Anderson, those are cumulative bills. You got that wrong." And what's telling about Mr. Anderson is he stood up and said it anyway. And for that reason, I'm glad to get a chance to correct the record. It's wonderful to work with you. Very proud of the results that we have had, and very grateful to have the opportunity to be your city attorney.
Additional questions?
Just one more, Mr. Powell, the $94,000 is a reflection of your $22,000 has been removed from that, so it's actually, what, $116,000?
No, that's after. That's after.
94 is the net.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
And so that you understand, the things that I itemize it for a reason. Those were not expected in the budgetary process. We should be, in our budgetary process, we should be at about $60,000 for that. We would have been under budget had it not been for those unexpected events. And although one of them will be reimbursed, the bond issue helps us because it lets us offset some against those costs too. So in our view of it, we've actually come in under budget except for those unexpected events. Yes, sir.
Additional questions?
Yes, please. Exercise again there,
Yes,
Mr. Powell.
I'm sorry.
First of all, I want to thank you and your firm and let you know that I certainly had all the faith and confidence that you guys were performing at a level that's been unmatched in this city, and I appreciate that. Just a couple of questions. Do you see any reason why our city should not pay your bill to your firm?
No, one of the things that's nice is that we have a chance to, we bill you every month, which is what your charter requires. You got the October bill really in November is when it comes to you. And so we have opportunities to speak with your city manager, and he has, on one event, questioned our bill and in one area, and we resolved it. And that's really the only, at a real communication level, the only person who's said anything to us about billing at all. And so we're really pleased with the way you communicate with us, with the way it works, and so we don't really have billing issues. And I'll promise, we're not going to have billing issues. I mean, I'm a patient man, and my partners trust me. All they ask is that I work a little harder on other cases and make sure my dollars at the end of the month still add up. But as long as I can accomplish that and produce the way I'm supposed to for my partners favorably, then not being paid for a period of 6 months is something I can carry. I don't want to do that, and I would like to get paid. And I'm most grateful to have a chance to tell citizens of Snellville what work we've been doing for them, way beyond what they read in the newspaper. What we're hopeful is things like George Anderson don't happen here anymore. We're as determined as anybody to see to it that this city gets calm and peace in its operations. And we've got a lot invested in it to get there, and we're very pleased at the progress we're making.
Okay, so going back to using the net number of 94,000, 21,000 of that, and if you don't mind, share what. Well, I'm not going to ask you to share what your cost was. There's, well, it's worth a try. You don't ask, you don't get, right, Tony? So $21,000 of that is legal fees incurred by your firm representing a suit in the city that was filed by our mayor against 4 council members and yourself, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now that's the part that is included in this billing.
Correct. Yeah, that's that. I'm sure there's more, which I want to try to figure out if there is.
Well, it would be in the future.
Right.
There's nothing in the past because the whole dispute overlaps this bill.
So there's roughly $73,000 there that apparently was held for no other reason than just because somebody felt they could.
I think I don't know the answer to that. I don't know why. What I did is in an executive session, took the certified ink situation and just asked that it reported that I had not been paid, because I'm not sure how the payment cycle works here, or how it gets authorized. So but I brought it to the attention. I think it's appropriate for council to oversee that payment process.
Well, I would like to personally apologize to you for that. That's something that should never happen, regardless. You folks worked hard. You did the work. You should not, and hopefully will never, ever be faced with that again. My apologies.
Thank you, sir.
Additional comments?
I'd like to echo a lot of what Bobby said. I certainly appreciate the work you've done. You've always been very, very strongly advocating that we need to get the city's business done and do it in the most efficient and cost-effective way. And I certainly appreciate that and the professionalism. One comment, not really relevant to your billing, but it's been mentioned a couple of times about demolition of houses. I just want everybody to understand, we don't go in and say, you know, you didn't really wash your walls the way you should have, we're going to knock your house down. The demolition we're talking about are houses that are dangerous to people. They've not been completed, they're vacant, they're attractive nuisances, and the owners have not shown any real desire to fix the situation. If somebody were to walk into one of those houses and a portion of it collapsed on them, we would have a suit against the city. So this is not being taken very lightly. I think we've exhausted all of the options we have to try to get these matters fixed. And since nobody wants to fix them, the only option we have is to either demolish the houses or sit there and wait for somebody to get hurt, and certainly that's not a viable option. So I just wanted to make that point clear.
To echo what you're talking about in terms of protection, when the city moves into that area of nuisance complaint, and there are constitutional rights that are being protected. That's why it takes a little bit of time to accomplish it. If your citizens wanted to really know what we're talking about, I'd refer them to the Governor's Walk Homeowners Association. They can communicate it real clearly that it should have been done a long time ago, and it's the constitutional protections. The key balance in tearing a structure down is that we are ordered in using that to fix it as a first position. So if you are in this condition and it can be fixed, the city fixes it and attaches a lien to the property for the cost of fixing it. In order to be able to tear it down, the value of the structure has to be less than the value of cost of fixing it. And a court has to determine that tearing it down is the best thing to do. And these are substantial dangers is what it amounts to. They're not, we expect, we're in the appraisal process right now, we expect the cost of repair to be 10 times the value of the structure.
When you talk about tearing somebody's house down,
Yes,
people can get the wrong impression
I
very easily.
appreciate that very much. Yes, sir.
Just a simple statement, Mr. Powell. Thank you for what you do for the city, for the mayor and council, for the city staff, and for all the citizens. We truly need you. You have, I don't know that there are words that can describe the work that you do. Very detailed, and I don't think the citizens realize how much you do for them and for us. And so I'm glad you had this opportunity to stand there and to go over a few of the things that you and your company do. Again, thank you.
It's mutual, and I'm very grateful. If you just do the math, the part that has been so public in those things that I've described with dollars is a third of what we really do. It's $60,000 of that is work in really influencing, helping, contracting with the community, and achieving everything that we talk about here, from cleaning up the streets to cleaning up the houses to the zoning to Snellville days and the events that happen there. We're in the midst of all of that. Very proud of what you do, and very proud of working with you in that.
One more comment, if you don't mind. Mr. Powell, I like also mention a couple of things, but I think you and I agree that we have a pretty good professional working relationship.
Yes, sir.
And I, too, admire the work and the abilities that you have and the way you explain the foreign language of law to me during work sessions. I appreciate that very much. I would always be a person of a professional fellow that you can reach out to or talk to all the time. I would definitely love to support you all the way. There are some ambiguities, however, tonight in this order that we're about to take a vote on that I am not 100% comfortable. I would like to speak with you about it, if you don't mind, and so I can get some clarification on this.
Yes, sir. Anytime. And you're right. Our working relationship has been good, and I'm very grateful for that. We've worked well, and communication's been well, and so I appreciate that.
Please have a seat, Mr. Powell. As per the charter, everyone's aware that the mayor pays, provides for the payment of the city attorney. I addressed some of the issues that Mr. Powell brought up in his statements. We did receive the first bill that's outstanding on December 14th of 2013. Although it's from October, we didn't receive it until mid-December. In those bills, I agree that you are due payment for some of those bills. However, I believe that there are some items, line items in each of those bills that have questions, and I have drafted a letter to your office concerning those line items. We'll authorize the city manager to pay the ones that are not in question, but I believe there are some that are in question. The George Anderson matter was something that was to the benefit of two council members, Mayor Pro Tem Witts and Councilman Emanuel. Although they retained outside counsel Chris McClurg, there are items in your billing where you met with Mayor Pro Tem Witts to go over the Anderson lawsuit. I don't believe that those should be things that are billed to the city. As far as the pending litigation between myself and 4 members of council, that is something where those members of council, not the city, are being sued. Therefore, I do not believe it's proper for them to ask the city to pay for their legal fees at this point in time. That is something that is pending on an appeal, and until that matter is resolved, I don't believe either side is entitled to legal fees. In addition, in your billing, there are bills that you are charging the city where you met with your Atlanta attorney, and you're billing the city on behalf of your own legal counsel for those matters. And for answering the claims, you answering the claims of these 4 individual council members when they were to have retained a counsel other than you, since you were a party to the litigation. Putting those matters aside, however, I do believe on December 13th of 2012, I wrote you a letter in which I did say that there were some questions in some of the bills that had been received. Your bills have gone from about $8,000 to about $15,000. There's some issues in there about more than one member of your firm attending meetings and us being billed for both of those meetings. There's issues about associates billing us at the same rate as yourself, who's a veteran attorney. And there are issues about unauthorized work, such as in the Sweeney matter. So I've outlined all of those. I'm happy to sit down and talk to you about the state bar arbitration process. But I do agree that there are some fees that you are owed for the work that you've done. But I agree that there are some discrepancies in the bills. And I've sat down and tried to put those out. I have not received a response from the letter I sent you December 13th. I do believe I raised some of those issues in that letter. But I'm happy to talk to you about those.
Madam, I'd like to
Question?
hear
With that-
Mr. Powell's
That-
reply to those accusations.
That's not the appropriate time, Council.
Yes,
Mayor
it
Pro
is.
Tem Woods. With that, I will call the
Mr.
question.
Powell,
All those in
would you please
favor
respond to that?
of approval of the motion as stated.
Madam Mayor, you
paying
didn't
all
close the,
open
you didn't
invoices
close
for
discussion,
web
Mayor.
center-
You haven't closed the discussion.
This is,
Mr.
Mayor
Powell?
Pro Tem Woods, this is a motion. This is not open to public comment. It's not something that he's given a legal opinion to. So with that, I will close the debate and we'll open the question, call the question. All those in favor of paying all open invoices for Webb, Tanner, Powell, Mertz, and Wilson, signify by raising your right hand. That's 4 in favor. All those opposed. That's 2 opposed. The motion carries. That brings us to D, action and consideration on paying all open invoices for Cruiser and Mitchell LLP. Do I have a motion? Seeing no motion.
One second. I'll make a motion, consideration and action on paying all open invoices for Cruiser and Mitchell.
There is a motion by Councilman Howard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Kraus. Any further discussion?
Yes, please. What you just witnessed is exactly the opposite of what we're dealing with right now. In December, there was a bill paid to Cruiser and Mitchell. Cruiser and Mitchell was an attorney's firm allegedly hired by our mayor to basically represent her in the Sweeney matter. There was allegations that there was some issues with Tony doing the job he was hired to do as our city attorney. Those were not founded accusations. Tony could represent our city just like he was supposed to. The law firm Cruiser and Mitchell was advised that they were not party to that. They would not be getting paid. However, under cover of darkness, a check was written to Cruiser and Mitchell for their services. Our city manager never saw it, but a check was written.
Excuse me, Councilman Howard, are you...
Excuse me, Mayor, I have the floor.
Councilman
Excuse
Howard?
Miss Mayor.
No.
Excuse me, I have the floor. Let me finish, please. Thank you.
No, sir.
This, you
I'm
can't.
gonna give
nope,
you. I'm going to
nope.
give you a warning, Councilman Howard. If you are going down the line of accusing me of doing something illegal, then you are crossing not only our decorum policy, but you're crossing defamation.
No, just pointing out what I got.
No, you don't have it. I believe there's 2 signatures on that check, so it was not done in the cover of darkness. And I do believe that the administration was well aware of what was happening, because no check can be issued without their authority.
So what you're seeing is we've got a city attorney that works his tail off in his firm, but I'm just not going to pay you. And then you've got an attorney's firm that sends the bill addressed to not the city, but sends it directly to our mayor. And it gets paid. Just saying.
Further discussion.
As soon as I can press my button. We just heard you say about some of the charges that Tony has put on his bill were for my defense and for Tom Witz's defense. I've got a bill here from Cruiser and Mitchell that is addressed to Kelly Couts, final statement in the Sweeney matter. It is not addressed to the city of Snellville as the second bill is. So I don't see how you can say that our billings referenced to Tony's bill are for us, and the bill that has been paid to Cruiser and Mitchell was not for you personally. Cruiser and Mitchell clearly saw that there was a difference between the Sweeney case and other work done for the city of Snellville. The city of Snellville's name is not on the bill for anything representing the Sweeney case. In fact, there's a final statement on their February 19th in which they sent 2 separate bills, one addressed to you, one addressed to the city. So I think you have to determine whether you're going to pay bills, whether you're not going to pay bills, and I don't believe that your representation by Cruiser and Mitchell should be paid for by the city, yet it was.
Additional comments?
Yes, I'm sorry. Take a moment to address what was just said. The city did not pay for my defense. I didn't need to be defended by the city. But what Mr. Powell was paid for was to defend our ethics ordinance, and the assault that was made on that ethics ordinance by a hired gun that came in and made discredited remarks about me and tried to smear me and my name with unfounded accusations, which he later in court apologized to me and apologized to the city for making them, and said that they baseless accusations. So I paid for my own defense. I'll be glad to show anybody who wants to see the check. And so did Mr. Emanuel. Mr. Powell did not pay for ours. That is not a true statement. I wouldn't do that. Matter of fact, right up front, I was told that. I'll give you in January, I met with, this is how silly these things get. In January, I met with the homeowners.
Mayor Pro Tem Wentz,
the
we're on the
homeowners
Cruiser and
association.
Mitchell. We're not, if you want to say something during your
I'll do it in
comments, but
public report.
we're on
Fine.
Cruiser and Mitchell.
fine.
Is there any additional comment on the Cruiser and Mitchell bill?
Mayor, for the same reason I stated a while ago, due to some ambiguities and situations that have not been resolved, I will not be supporting a vote on this tonight.
Additional comments? To clarify the record, the city charter provides that the mayor shall provide for the city attorney services for the city and shall provide for payment. The mayor has never had to put an invoice on a record for approval. However, and that's why I believe it was December that Cruiser and Mitchell first submitted their bill. It was not to me individually, but it was to me as mayor, because I had the authority to pay those bills. But in no means is it myself alone writing a check out of city funds without anyone knowing about it. Those invoices get sent to my office. They get sent to the city manager or to the city clerk. They go to the comptroller, and they are approved and issued payment. The same happened with Stuart Oberman. The same has happened with Kevin Talent. And the same has previously happened with Mr. Powell. Those bills are routinely because the mayor hires the city attorney sent to the mayor, and then I give those to staff. And that's why the Cruiser and Mitchell, the first bill, came to my office. The bill for Cruiser and Mitchell, the first bill, was for city representation in the Marilyn Sweeney case after I found that there was a conflict in interest on the part of Mr. Powell and his assistant, Ms. Trimmer, in representing the city in that case. And that's one of the issues in dispute over Mr. Powell's bill, because he continued to create legal charges for the city in that case. The second invoice was directed to the city council because, if you recall, at that point in time, the city council during this lawsuit with the mayor and council, certain members of council, had passed a resolution directing the city manager not to pay any legal invoices other than that of Mr. Powell's. That put the city manager in a very awkward position, and upon that passage of that resolution, the Cruiser and Mitchell firm sent their invoice to the whole council, and it was addressed to the city. Again, I don't have to put the approval of Cruiser and Mitchell on an agenda. I've done that tonight to try to take that away from the city manager and prevent putting him in the middle of a situation between the mayor and council. And because Cruiser and Mitchell deserve to get paid, the things that they have done are not things on my behalf. If you look at their bills, they've reviewed ordinances, they've done work on the behalf of the city staff. They came here in good faith, they attended our council meetings, and they deserve to be paid for their work. If there's discrepancies in the amounts that they've billed for certain items, I'm happy to discuss those with members of council. But there has been nothing done that has been inappropriate or that has not been followed standard procedure in the past. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of paying all open invoices for Cruiser and Mitchell LLP signify by raising your right hand. That's 1 in favor. All those opposed? That's 5 opposed. The invoices stand denied. Consideration and act